We'll be beginning with a talk from Murad from Full HP titled Scaling Up with a Minimum Budget. Murad, are you there?
And here I am.
Hello.
Eric.
Awesome. Yeah, are you all ready to go?
Yes.
Awesome. Then I will mute and let you get started, and then I'll be back in about 20 minutes to go through any questions that we may get. If you do have any questions, please do drop them in the Q&A box for Murad for the end of the session. But for now, I leave it up to you.
Okay, thanks Rick, thanks Pocket Gamer, and hello everyone. Let me press start. Okay, I hope you are waving at me from the other side of the screen. Hello again, my name is Murad Musakaev, and today I will tell you how you or your company can increase the performance of your application with minimum budget spend and give you a real-life example of these tips and tricks. So every progressive change starts with a question, and my favorite question is why? Why do good games receive so little of organic traffic? Why are they indexed so poorly? Why so many developers think that paid user acquisition is a solution for everything? And why so many successful games don't care about optimization for organics? Those are the great questions, detective, and another great why is why you should listen to me. I work at Full HP since 2018. With me, the company discovered new revenue streams, opened an office in Cyprus, hired more employees, and increased revenue twice, comparing year over year. A lot of help came from the hints that I will show you today. This presentation is called Scaling Up with Minimum Budget. The main point of the talk is that you can significantly increase your audience without spending enormous budget and monetize better, of course. All you need is optimization of your metadata, optimization of your product performance, and optimization of your distribution strategies. I want you to take away from this talk some easy and cheap strategies that you can try right away without any specific preparation or exhaustive negotiations. To do so, you and I, will focus on 3 basic tips that are underestimated frequently but are really cheap and accessible. All my recommendations are based on true events and are relevant both for small indie companies and for big successful companies, but the effect obviously will vary. All the situations will be demonstrated for the Google Play version of the game, but are relevant for other platforms too. So no sales pitches, just pure data-driven insights. And I think some of you might say that it's the obvious things that I will tell you right now, but I talk with developers a lot, and you will be surprised how often these things are forgotten. So monetization, no matter how perfect it is, relies on the number of people who will go through the cycle. You can create a brilliant road for the player with an amazing first session, followed by retaining mechanics filled with sense of purpose and progression, then some paywalls, in-app purchases, and personal offers. That's great, but this road will work only when a user drives in. So where can you get more users? That's a part where paid user acquisition campaign appears on the scene. But ask yourself, what UA campaign will perform better, with or without a stable organic foundation? These two complement each other, and to reach the best result, you have to keep an eye on your organics, and that's my tenet. Get it? The best way to do it is ASO. ASO stands for App Store Optimization, and it is the optimization of different elements of your game's page in the store. Well-optimized applications are ranked better, receive an increase in the number of organic installs, and of course, ASO don't give you the immediate effect. You should be aware of that. But you will definitely see the difference if you do so in 3 or 4 weeks. Ideally, ASO requires constant maintenance. But for the initial optimization of one project, for example, you will need 2 or 3 weeks of work of one specialist, no matter is it in-house or outsourced, and about $50 for the software. What effect can you expect? I'll show you the metrics of our game Foodcut in an example. It's a hyper-casual experiment with ad monetization that is very far from hit. By the default, this game wasn't in top 10 when you search by the title. So we decided to not spend money on user acquisition, but we've done the ASO. It increased our user base dramatically. It covered all the development and ASO costs and even resulted in a small revenue. As you can see from the chart, ASO doesn't give any effect right after the release. It needs some time to get integrated into Google Play or App Store algorithms. And a short note about charts. It has been clear from the start for me that my presentation will include a lot of boring charts and stats, and I thought about making it more entertaining while I'll be playing with my dog, so I couldn't come up with something better than putting some dogs in, and I hope these fellas will give you some positive emotions. All right, jokes aside, let's get back to the App Store optimization. It's the typical page of the game in the Google Play Store. So what can you optimize here? We have the application icon, the title, feature graphic and or video. That's an important part. Let's stop for a second. Feature graphic is always displayed before your screenshot. So basically it's the first thing that players see when they get to your page. Plus it affects the click-through rate of your trailer, of course, if you have one. And unlike video, feature graphic is the mandatory asset of Google Play. So you won't get featured if you don't have feature graphic. You basically won't even publish your app. And on the App Store, videos are autoplayed, as you might know, but the user still sees the thumbnail if he's in a power saving mode. Next, you can optimize screenshots, short description, and long description. These categories are also relevant for the Apple App Store, except one thing. App Store doesn't track the long description. Instead of that, they have a very convenient keywords field. You just enter your keywords there, and here you go. There is also a legend that words and phrases from reviews affect the organics too, but I don't have any strong evidence to prove that, so it's up to you whether to believe it or not. As for me, I want to believe. And let's talk separately about text and graphic parts of the page. When you work with the text, you hunt for the suitable keywords from the semantic core and tailor it in your description without violating store policies. So for instance, you can't use the titles of your competitor games. Sounds easy, but there are a lot of rocks. It's hard to show before and after comparison on the text, but I can show you the outcome. On the left, you see the conversion rates before text optimization, and on the right, after the optimization. As you see, conversion to install and the number of loyal players day by day increased in some countries even 3 times. What also important is individual approach to different regions, especially if they're important to you. For example, localization can be very effective. Here you can see how localization positively affected the conversion in Brazil, and Brazil right now is among top countries for this particular game. The optimization of graphics is easier to understand and can be demonstrated clearly, and you don't need some specific knowledges like keywords and all that stuff to optimize the screen, the icons. Here are the icons for our first-person shooter called Battle Forces. On the left is the icon that has already been popular on Google Play. We call it the champion icon. And on the right is the Brave Challenger. The icon on the left has a bright background and should grab attention better, but we'd have a big pale face, no action, and the weapon is hard to notice. The Challenger icon has bright elements too. They frame the image better, and we have a wave-sized, wave-height character with a rifle, with a grenade in action pose, so it's obviously a shooter. How can you track the efficiency of your icon? With free A/B testing. Here you can see the experiment results. The Challenger is performing slightly better, and you have to understand that you won't have the big difference between the icons, usually at least. And the point of optimization is in small tweaks like this. You have to keep iterating, analyzing your competitors, look out for trends, and find new triggers for your audience. Another great trick that helps to understand if another iteration of the icon is ready for experiments, you just simply put it in the screenshot of the store and show someone. If it catches attention, then you are free to go with A/B testing. Screenshots require some creativity too, so I'll give you a number of examples. These are the character of Battle Forces before the optimization. They are lined up like chess figures in a dark outfit on dark background with 2 lines of bright text in the corner, like the text is the main focus, and of course it was a fail. But the new screenshot performs better, is bright, saturated, and lettering is less intrusive, and the lineup is more dynamic. This screenshot should be focused on the special abilities of our agents. We put 3 of them on the screenshot and lost the focus. Everything's pitch black again, of course. And on the new image, we pictured the agent in the middle of his ability. So the screenshot is clear with rich colors, and that's the point. Your screenshots have to be attractive. They have to grab users' attention, but at the same time, they shouldn't overwhelm user with a lot of information or show something that is not present in the game. And this is not the thing that I just made up, it's the requirement of the platform, and that's why stores, Google Play and App Store, require at least 1 screenshot that shows actual gameplay to be featured. And gameplay screenshots should be dynamic. You can show in dynamic everything. Unless you want them to look like a prepared photo set like on this screenshot, you need something like this. It shows more live-in action. Like the icon, screenshots can be A/B tested too. We had two types of screenshots for our game Mad Guns, with text as you see above and without it. And the A/B test shown that the screenshots without text are more attractive for our audience. About A/B testing, Google allows to A/B test for free everything that can be optimized on the page: short and long description, icon, feature graphic, video. Apple has an A/B testing instrument too. It's called Creative Sets and available via Apple Search Ads, so it's obviously not free. Besides description, graphics, and search algorithms, your game ranking is heavily affected by compliance with the platform guidelines and by the usage of the platform special features. This is the other type of optimization that I suggest: optimization of the performance of your product. Google Play and App Store encourage developers to use new platform features and stick to the guidelines and policies. Sometimes it awards you with additional attention or maybe with featuring, but usually it just helped your game to rank better. When Apple introduced 3D Touch, applications that supported it gained additional attention. I'm sure that with new iOS version, App Clips might be such a feature, so keep an eye on that. And as you might know, iMessage stickers is still one of the additional bonuses for the feature applicants, so keep that in mind too. And Google Play is pushing hard Google Play core libraries with in-app review function and performance tuner. But the optimization in Google Play can be started right in the Google Play Developer Console. Always pay attention to the Android Vitals section. It's really vital. It provides you with the information at a scale that might be difficult to obtain otherwise. The issues that Android Vitals can alert you include crashes, application not responding, rendering times, and application size. These issues all directly impact your user experience and perception of your app. And let's take a look at the last one, size. Size matters. Google officially states that application size is one of the biggest factors that can affect your app's install and uninstall metrics. Not to mention the obvious reason to reduce the file size, because the user doesn't like to download lots of content, no matter because of the poor internet connection or because of the not a lot of disk space available. It doesn't really matter. Until you optimize the size of your app, you will be losing a part of your well-deserved traffic. Let's take a look at the size of Battle Forces game. When we started with this game, the main concern about it was the size of the build. Unlike our previous game, it's a realistic first-person shooter with big dynamic maps, with destructible objects, so that's gonna weigh a lot. Our top geos include both Tier 1 countries, like the USA and Japan, and Tier 3 countries, like Brazil, for example. The game supports almost 16,000 Android-powered devices. We had to keep that in mind. Turned out that for ranking, Google uses only download size and install size. That's important, because once the app is opened, the size of the app will vary depending on app usage, so Google doesn't track it. To decrease your download and install size and increase your perception, you can create an APK that will serve as a launcher. So user download a small file with only one scene, which will allow him to download more assets. And when he opens this file, he downloads the necessary resources using the asset dynamic delivery system or any other asset delivery system. For example, Unity introduced the new one recently. That will help to reduce not only the indicated size, but also the actual size of the app. And to reduce the actual size even further, you can convert your images from PNG to WebP format without any loss of the quality, use build shrinking or obfuscation. The effect won't make you wait. The size will be reduced, increasing your traffic and leaving your peers behind. And yes, about peers, just take a look at this button. Here you can edit the peer group for your game. If you won't do that manually, Google will eventually find them automatically. But automatic peers may not match your vision or be irrelevant. They can be from 8 to 12 position, only one game from one developer. Changes can be made 3 times a month, and you can't include apps that don't use this feature of the console. How can you use it? When we released our new games Fury Wars, on Google Play, we were unpleasantly surprised that we have no similar apps in the corresponding category. But when I added peers in the additional vital size submenu and in the rating menu, the algorithms activated and pulled similar apps. You just need to remember that you can't add top performing apps and just hope that they will pop up in your similar category. Like with the keywords in App Store optimization, it's the mountain that you need to climb with patience. And the last, fill all the forms that the platform requires. For example, Google Play has several questionnaires regarding content ratings and target audience and content. And you don't need any specific knowledge to fill it. It will take just about 3 or 4 minutes to fill it. But until you have them filled, the platform will avoid your application. Furthermore, both Google Play and Apple App Store have technical documentation with instructions on how to reduce battery consumption, deal with a poor internet connection, and lots of other technical things. To examine and integrate all these recommendations in one project, you'll need from 2 to 4 weeks of time of work of, let's say, 2 employees and no additional software. The positive impact exceeds the implementation costs, and optimization of metadata and performance can boost your organic traffic and give your monetization a chance to earn you some heavy money in Google Play and Apple's App Store. But besides these 2 giants, there are plenty of blue oceans there. And I suggest you to optimize your distribution strategies by releasing on alternative platforms with positive ROI, of course. Moreover, you can optimize on these platforms using the aforementioned methods. Here are examples of alternative platforms that became a worthy addition to our distribution strategy. First one is global alternative Android stores. The biggest are Amazon App Store and Huawei App Gallery. I haven't worked with Huawei, but you won't need more than 3 days to integrate the Amazon necessary features, and we released an Amazon version of our game Blocky Cars in 6 months. It peaked at 59th place in the top actions and acquired over 350,000 unique users who recently paid. The second one is Chinese stores. It's hard to reach the Chinese market if you're not a Chinese company. So for us, it was a great chance to find a good publisher. We worked with Aptuti, and in 7 months, we earned over $1.5 million from a single game. Yes, integration is more demanding, and we have 2 employees who are constantly working on the Chinese version, but the income exceeds the costs. If you're developing your game on Unity, you have to consider the Unity distribution portal because it's the fastest and easiest way and cheapest to release it on several platforms and right from the editor. So it's really easy. And the last one is web platforms. We had an exceptional experience with Poki because they are client-oriented. They help on every stage of the development, which results in starting revenue of $3,000 a month, while there is plenty of room for optimization because players are right now conversing pretty poor to our gameplay. In the end, I want to give you a short summary. I suggest you to optimize your store page, the performance of your application, and consider some alternative stores so you can reach more players. The more players will get in your game cycle, the more money you can get. All these methods together require less than 2 months to integrate, and the price is about 3 average sellers in your company because you won't need more people than 3. And I hope these tips were useful for some of you and will help you to scale up your projects without hurting your budgets. Thank you for your attention, and that's all from me.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. We do have a few questions in the Q&A already, but I just made a few notes that stuff that I think is interesting. Obviously, a lot of the talk was about App Store optimization and making sure that the app page is perfect and everything before you go live. How important do you think getting featured by the app stores is to the initial growth of the game?
It's really not that important as it used to be before, because right now a lot of companies and our company too have a bad experience with featuring because of the hangover that comes after the featuring, and it's really hard to get back on the race you had before the featuring. And what I'm telling you is a thing that you need to consider if you want to be featured, if you have enough resources for that, if you have enough server power, for example. And no matter if you want or don't want to be featured, these hints, this advice can help you to increase your organics a lot, and that will give a chance to your monetization to reach more players. And I think that's really important, because a lot of companies that I've encountered, they just, you know, pay for UA campaign, they got the irrelevant users sometime, and they are not so loyal as organic users. And it's really important to keep these things together, because they complement each other.
Cool. And I was also, so, you know, it was obviously focused a lot on making sure your app store and everything is perfect. What about like externally and sort of like social media and that kind of thing? Because sometimes that's like making a Twitter or a Facebook or something is sometimes considered like a cheap way to grow downloads. Like, what are your thoughts on that kind of?
Yes, if we are not talking about buying the ads or something like that, just for like maintaining your social media, Facebook worked really good for us. We have some groups in Russian social media, because Russia is among our top countries and we are the developers from Russia, so it's obviously our audience. And because our flagship games, they're targeted for a young audience, TikTok was a great thing for us, because a lot of young gamers, they're in the TikTok and it's easier to reach them there. And for example, Snapchat was not that worthy for us, like Twitter also, because our audience just don't hang out there. And it's really important to keep an eye on your social media campaigns, on your community management, but it's not like among the vital things. It's nice to have, but it, for example, without the optimization of the performance of your game, of the App Store optimization, it will be harder to reach them on social media. So you need to keep an eye on that too. It's nice to have, it's a good question, but it will serve as a plus.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So we've got some questions from the audience. Thank you everyone for throwing these in. An anonymous attendee would like to ask, which platform is easier to optimize for and has the better ROI, Android or Apple?
Well, traditionally, there are less users in our games, less users on App Store, but they pay like a lot. And even when you get, for example, on the Google Play with organic optimization, we had like 1 million users monthly. And on the App Store, we had about 200, and the revenue were the same. So you have to understand that it's easier to optimize for Google Play because there are a lot of room for testing. They're just more user-friendly than Apple. They were and they are still now. But you can't just ignore Apple because it's like the biggest part of the mobile income right now. So it's a good way to test some theories on Google Play, and then when you already tested them, put them on App Store and see how they perform there, and start your App Store optimization, I mean Apple App Store optimization from there. So you already have some theories and you just know, you just don't start from zero. You have already something that you can try. And that will be a good strategy, I think. Cool. At least it works for us.
Yeah. I mean, that's all you can really talk from is your own experience.
Yeah, exactly.
Speaking of your own experience, we've got a couple of questions sort of relating to App2T and working with them. So one attendee would just like to know, how difficult is it to launch in App2T?
It's not really difficult to launch. For example, when you are launching in Chinese market, you have to get the licenses. Yeah. It's the ISBN license. You can't sell any in-app purchases without that license. And there is a lot of censorship in China. So you can't like have skulls, blood, or something like that in your game. But when we released our game, we released two versions. The first one was purely ad monetized. So while we were still waiting for the licensing, we can already monetize and onboard new players. And when we got the license, we added some more new content, and it was going with the in-app purchases. And it was like, you know, if I had the rate, it will be going like that. And it was a great boost for us. And it's really easy to work with them, with App2T. You have to keep in mind, they take half of your revenue. But almost every publisher in China do this. It's the usual rev share for them.
Right.
And sometimes it's hard to work with them because of the language or cultural barrier, because they're obviously Chinese, and it's sometimes hard to understand what both of the sides want. And that's why you need a producer like me who serves as a translator and a mediator for the talks. and to be short, it's easy. So go and try it. You will be happy with the outcome.
Awesome. Speaking of being in different locations and stuff, another attendee wants to know, does ASO change a lot depending on the geo?
Yes, it really depends on geo a lot. First of all, if you're trying to implement ASO, if you will do something from what I recommended, I recommend you to start with the USA, because USA is the biggest market out there. And when you optimize the United States page, all of your pages globally, they will grow. And of course, it's just the start of your optimization. All my advices were like for initial optimization. If you want to go further, you need to pay, you need to get an individual approach to every country, because in some countries, for example, when we were launching in Japan, we changed our screenshots, like everything changed. And if you compare the pages, for example, Mad Guns in Russia or in USA and in Japan, it looked like completely different game, because different trends, different cultures, different interests, different audience, and you have to dive deep in the interest of the audience, in the interest of the country, if you want to succeed there. And sometimes it's just pure localization, and that's everything the country wants. For example, when we released in India, we just localized on Hindi, and it helped. And no matter how we A/B tested our screenshots or icon, it was pretty similar as in UK, for example. And when we, as I said, released in Japan, it's just completely different experience. So you need to pay attention, like look at your competitors, analyze them, analyze the social media like Facebook, Twitter, or maybe some local social media if you know about some. And you will see some trends and some patterns in promoting other games. You can start from that. And then it's just iterating, because sometimes you need to be brave and bold and try something new. And sometimes it's like a step ahead for the audience. And when you come up with some new ideas, it can be like a waste of time, or it can be a blast for your revenue and growth.
Cool. We've got another question here. We've still got a bit of time for some more questions. So if you do have any in the audience, please do chuck them into the Q&A. As your App Store optimization is now optimized and you're getting organic traffic and downloads from that, have you tried paid UA, and was it worth it?
Yes, the exact thing that we tried paid UA for our new game before the App Store optimization and after, just as experiment, because when we started to develop our games, we were like based on organic traffic at first. But when we grow some budget, we wanted to experiment with that. And I can give you the exact numbers right now, but when you do the paid user acquisition campaign without organics, just pure user acquisition campaign, it's have pretty similar impact, but it's harder to maintain it. So maintain the effect. You just get new users and they leave after some time, no matter how good your game is, because they can be irrelevant, as I said before. And when you have a greatly optimized App Store page with a great organic traffic, the paid user acquisition campaign, it seems like it works better and gives you more relevant user. I can't explain it on more technical level because I'm not capable of that information, and maybe I should ask my marketing team. But obviously the effect without organic traffic is less, much less.
Cool. We do have a question from Andy Cow on the topic of UA. What UA option would you suggest for someone trying UA for the first time?
Well, when we first tried, we tried with Google. We had some contacts in Google, and we tried Google Ads because we thought that, hey, if Google will give us some paid user acquisition campaign, it will be greatly optimized for Google. that's not the case, to be honest. And surprisingly, sometimes even Google Ads team don't know how Google algorithms work. But the great experience is Facebook. But remember that with iOS 14, everything will change on iOS. And with IDFA, you will need some more preparation to launch an efficient paid user acquisition campaign. So I recommend Facebook, but for now only for Google Play, because the future is like in mist. And you can try Facebook, or you can try Integral, because if you monetize your game, for example, with ads, it's really convenient to spend what you earned on your paid user acquisition campaign in Integral, and it also was successful for us. So.
Okay, I think we've got time for maybe just one more question. Someone's quite keen to know, can we get organic installs without any paid UA? I get the feeling that yes.
yes. That's obviously what my talk was about.
Yes.
and you know, in 2015, 16, it was better with organic. But even now, it's possible to go in the category of Google Play, for example, like Arcade, and do a really great App Store optimization and receive a lot of traffic. So, for example, our game Mad Guns, it's not really honest comparison, because it's an old game and it has a lot of user base under it, but we have around 1 million organic downloads monthly, and that's a lot. And you probably won't find any other shooter who do these results without paid user acquisition campaign. And yes, you can gain a lot of organic installs, but you have to understand that App Store optimization is really hard. So especially what comes with text optimization. So when I talked about the screenshots, it's easy to do even if you are not a specialist. So you just have some, like taste of style, and you create several designs, you put them in A/B testing and see the outcome. But with the text description, there are a lot of techniques like keywords and all that stuff. And we are just lucky to have a really great ASO department. And even when we had talks with some guys who offer the paid ASO services, it turned out that we in-house do it better than they offer to do it. And it's possible to be short, but it needs some time and some learning.
Cool. Right, that's all we have time for. We've got a bunch more questions, but I'm sure people, if they want to, can reach out to you. Meet to match.
I'm on Discord.
Awesome. And on Discord, of course, do check out the Discord. But we'll move on now. Thank you so much, Murad, for your talk and the answering those questions. It's really interesting.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us.